So welcome to councillors and staff and those joining online in the public gallery. Please note that today's meeting is being live streamed and can be viewed by the general public via Council's Facebook page and later uploaded to Council's website. By participating in and addressing those present at the meeting, you consent to any information disclosed, including any personal information and sensitive information being recorded and uploaded to the website. Councillor Lockett, I'll invite you to read the acknowledgement of country, please.
Thank you, ma'am. We begin by acknowledging the Eastern Maar people as the traditional owners of the land which we meet today. Pay our respects to the elders past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today.
Thank you. And Councillor Taylor, I'll invite you to read the prayer, please.
Almighty God, we humbly beseech your blessing on the Council. Direct and prosper its deliberations for the welfare of the people of the Moyne Shire. Amen.
Thank you. So I'll note that we do have an apology today from Councillor Myra Murray. So I call for a motion to accept those apologies. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Seconded, please, by Councillor Ross. Thank you. All those in favour? Is carried 6-0. I'll also note we've got apologies today from Ms Edith Farrell and Ms Alison Toohey, who usually are around the table with us today. And instead we'll welcome Ms Simone Robinson stepping in to replace Ms Farrell for us. And Mr Small will fill in for our governance expert in Ms Toohey. Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest anyone would like to declare, please?
Yes, please, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. So 2.7 CEO advisory.
For obvious reasons.
Yes.
Okay. I'll now call for a mover to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held in February on the 27th.
I'm happy to move it.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Seconder, please. Councillor Ryan, is there any discussion or dissent? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 6-0. We have no public participants today for today's meeting, so we'll move directly to our office reports. Starting with 2.1, the Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund Levy. And I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Governance, Mr Ed Small, to introduce this to us, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this is a very topical issue. There's been a recent article in the Standard on this. There is concern in our community around the impact of this proposed Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund Levy, and we're proposing that we write to a number of senior Victorian politicians expressing the Council's concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Small. Are there questions, first of all, in relation to this item? There are no questions. We do have a recommendation before us, and I'm seeking a mover. Thank you, Councillor Taylor, and seconder, please. Councillor Ross. Councillor Taylor.
Yes, I'm happy to speak to the motion. I think that it is important for Council to do as much as possible to object to this levy. Now, there seem to be a couple of considerations for Council. One is the effect on ratepayers and monies going out of our Shire. Particularly being a regional council, we have a lot of agricultural ratepayers, and it will hit them harder than anyone else. But on the second point is the cost to council of administering this levy. So originally the fire services levy was introduced in response to the Royal Commission into the Black Saturday bushfires of 2009, and at the time, just prior to that, an emergency services levy was taken from people who paid insurance. So those who were insured had to pay a levy, but people who were uninsured were not. And it was found that a lot of people were uninsured or underinsured with those bushfires. So I think at the time there was definitely communal support for a contribution to emergency services and fire services to make up for the shortfall that was found to be there at the time. But this is not about that. I mean, when Tim Pallas announced this change, the Emergency Services and Volunteer Levy, in December, I mean, he actually directly linked it to Victoria's increasing deficit. So it is very apparent this is not just about increasing our capacity in the area of emergency services. It is actually to fill a shortfall in the government's budget, and I don't think it's fair that imposition is put onto rural and regional ratepayers.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Ross is the seconder.
Yes, I'd just like to back up Councillor Taylor's.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other councillors who would like to speak for or against this motion? Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I speak for the motion and agree with Councillor Taylor's comments, very well articulated there. It's another example of cost shifting from the state government onto local government, which, is further increasing time and time again. Now, farmers are already struggling. We've got, significant drought in obviously not just our Shire, but, the region and the country as a whole. Bushfires, it's been an extensive bushfire season across our Shire and others, and of course, timing's terrible. I don't think any timing's good for such a large cost shifting exercise. So again, I'd like to congratulate the work that our staff have done with this important motion. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other councillors? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to speak for the motion as well and speak to Councillor Taylor's comments. Very well articulated, 100% agree. I'd like to note that we're not the only local council advocating for this, and we'll work with our neighbours to have a stronger emphasis in this space as well.
Councillor Ryan. Any other councillors to speak? If not, I'll return to you as the mover to sum up.
Thank you. Just a very short, brief final comment that with me, given the history of the fire service levy and this transition into the new one, it does seem to me as though it is a breach of the social contract. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Taylor. Okay, I'll now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 6-0. Thank you, councillors. We move to item 2.2, the National General Assembly motions. And again, I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Governance, Mr. Small.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, every year the Australian Local Government Association has a big conference in Canberra, and this year it's scheduled for the end of June. It's seeking any submissions from councillors for motions that they may want to be considered by the General Assembly. And they gave us 12 potential topics that we're interested in receiving motions on. This council has been working on assembling motions in relation to financial sustainability, roads, and also in relation to childcare. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Do we have questions in relation to this item? If there are no questions, we have a recommendation there. So I'm seeking a mover that we endorse the motions as listed. Councillor Lockett, and seconded, Councillor Ryan. Thank you. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Another further example of the advocacy we're doing towards, two massive issues that their nation, of national significance, not just for our Shire, but the roads, childcare, massive shortages in childcare, and any kind of further advocacy we can do in this space is super important. And obviously we'd love more funding to fix the roads. So yeah, super important.
Thank you. And Councillor Ryan, second.
No further comment. Councillor Lockett summed it up very well.
Thank you. I'll open it up for any further commentary. Anyone who wants to speak for or against the motion? There being nobody, I'll return to you as the mover. Let's put that to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried 6-0. Item 2.3, Road Management Plan and Register of Public Roads. For this one, we'll call on our Acting Director of Assets and Community, Ms. Simone Robertson.
Thank you. Councillors, this report follows a review of the Road Management Plan and the Register of Public Roads. It's a statutory requirement for council required for completion by the 31st of October 2025. The review and subsequent report ensure council's compliance with the Road Management Act and focuses on infrastructure maintenance, safety and service levels. The recommendation is provided for councillors.
Thank you very much, Ms Robertson, and I'll also welcome Mr Liam Arnott to the chamber. Open it up for questions from councillors.
Yeah,
Yes,
so,
Councillor Dukas.
yeah, thank you, Mayor. Ms. Arnott, earlier I asked about Heatley's Road. Did you have time to check that out?
Through the Mayor. Yes, I have had time to check that out. No, the full length isn't in the current draft. However, we will include that prior to it going to public consultation if it's carried to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr Arnott. Any other questions?
Not so much about what's in the document. Will this go, normally we have ads in the paper on a Saturday. Will this, I know that we've got a habit, I call a bad habit, because we're always, it's online. Will it be advertised in the local paper that people will know about it?
Ms Robertson, are you able to answer that question?
Through the Mayor, yes, the recommendation is that will be a public notice in the Victorian Government Gazette.
What about the local standard?
Local papers as well, yes.
Because normally every Saturday we normally have, if you look at the last 20 years, there's been the Shire has an ad telling everybody what's happening. Even job descriptions, you know, that are available to people, but we don't seem to have it as often as we used to. So maybe it's something we could look at in the future. But I'd like to see this advertised in the local paper and emphasise the fact that anybody who's had an issue with the roads, have a look at it, fill it in. I suppose an online version. Is there a hard copy where they could put in their submission?
I believe we're usually in hard copies in our offices. Is that the case? Yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right, so that'll do. So if you're not sure, people, give me a ring and we'll do something about it.
Thank you, Councillor Dukas. Okay, so if there are no further questions, I'm seeking, we have got an officer recommendation. Is anyone prepared to move that recommendation?
Yeah, I'll do. I love roads.
Good on you. Thanks, Councillor Dukas, and seconded by Councillor Taylor. Thank you, Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Without going into too much depth, it's something that we must do. Roads are a big issue in the Moyne Shire, so this is a chance for the community to have their input into how we conduct our road maintenance and rehabilitation and anything else to do with roads. It's going out for a 28-day advertising period, so please, anything will be helpful. You know, don't worry about if you're being a bit critical. Constructive criticism never hurt anybody, but please give us your ideas, even new ideas, so we can formulate a way going forward that maybe we can do a better job and a cheaper job to keep the community happy and have less potholes in the road.
Nice. Thank you, Councillor Dukas. As I said, Councillor to add. Thank you. Any other councillor wanting to speak for or against? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Further to Councillor Lucas's point, our vast Shire and our vast constituents travel on these roads every day. So they are the expert in the roads that they travel on more than we are. So, yeah, as Councillor Duke said, we strongly welcome your feedback. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against? There are none. Return to you, Councillor Dukas.
All I can say is, if you're concerned about the state of the roads that you travel on, have something to say about it. Let us know so we can go forward and do our job to the best of our ability.
I'll now put item 2.3 to the vote. All those in favour, please. That is carried 6-0. Thank you, councillors. Moving to item 2.4, public toilet service review, fondly referred to as the Loo review. I had to say it. And I'll ask Ms Robinson to please introduce this one for us.
Councillors, this report provides a comprehensive review of public toilet facilities across the Shire. It's aimed at addressing cleanliness, accessibility, environmental sustainability and long-term asset management. The report informs a 10-year action plan for improvements and the recommendation is provided for council's consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Do we have questions? Quite a bit of work already gone into this one. If there are no questions, we have a recommendation there that we approve the release of the draft Public Amenities Service Plan Review to seek community submissions. Is anybody willing to move that motion? Councillor Dukas, seconded. Councillor Lockett. Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mayor. Another draft amenities service plan review going out to the public, which is good because it gives the public a chance. There's no point public going crook after the event if they didn't have their input into these reviews. It's probably a long time coming because from time to time we get some ordinary feedback about our toilets, etc. So this gives us a good chance to have a view over all our toilets or amenities. And looking at the detail in here, there are a few various options. And I suppose the best way to go about it is to find out what the people think about the amenities in their area, and even people that are frequent travellers through the Shire that might use them, to hear from them. So hopefully they will get to hear about this review and have some input. So the travellers and the tourists, their input would be very advisable to give us a heads up on things that they see an issue might be.
Thanks, Councillor Dukas. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Similar to Councillor Dukas, agree with his comments that, yeah, we're looking for feedback from everyone across the Shire or users, or he said lose, because they're super important. So we would, yeah, welcome any feedback. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Lockett. Other councillors who'd like to speak for or against the motion before us? I'll return to you as the mover, Councillor Dukas.
Just in summary, I hope we get a lot of feedback. I notice in here that we're looking for a committee, disabled committee, disability and something committee. So not all these toilets, I think, are disabled friendly. Not sure, but I don't think they all are. And with just a little bit of work, we could make them disabled friendly. So a bit of feedback from people that, you know, with disabilities that need these toilets on a long journey would be advisable. So please, if you have issues, whether it's young children or older people that have issues with disability, the feedback would be gratefully appreciated.
It is good to be inclusive. Thank you, Councillor Dukas.
It's really inclusive. I was thinking
We will
of
put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 6-0. Item 2.5 is our immunisation update for 2025. And again, I'll ask you to introduce this question.
Thank you. Councillors, this report provides an update on Moyne Shire's immunisation program. It outlines the service delivery and key performance data and ongoing improvements since the transition to Vitality Works in November 2023. The program's maintained strong participation rates with 429 children immunised in 2024, representing a high uptake of eligible participants. Recommendations provided for council consideration.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Ms. Robinson, just a question from me. How are we faring in comparison to the other shires, other regions, in terms of our immunisation rates?
So through the Mayor, Moyne Shire has really solid immunisation data over the past few years. We currently, across the Shire, we are sitting at in the high 80s. The recommendation across federally is 95. There is quite a few areas that haven't quite hit the 95, but we're actively moving towards that. And we have some good strategies in place to achieve that in the coming 12 months.
No other question? Yes,
Yeah.
Councillor Dukas.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Reading this, we've got between 24-hour average was 90%, 23 was 87, so we're up 3. Do you have say the last 10 years, the figures for the last 10 years? I don't expect them. It would be nice to get an overall, like a 10-year vision of where we're going. Is it up one year, down the other, down the next, or are we sitting around the 87, 90? Or were we up around 95? And if not, how do we get there? So I suppose that'll be a question on notice. Yes.
So through the Mayor, there has been, I can only talk to the last couple of years, there's been a bit of fluctuation with the changeover of the providers, and that's settled in now, but happy to get that data and bring it back.
Yeah, because
Trend.
90 is good, but in something like this, 95, 97 would be better.
Agreed. Good aspiration
Yeah.
for us.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a recommendation that we note the information provided and I'm seeking a mover for that. Oh, Councillor Ryan.
Move it.
Thank you. Seconded by
Please.
Councillor Lockett. Thank you. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. It's great to see that we are up around that high number of uptake for this, and I'd just like to note that it's wonderful that Moyne Shire provide this service through a contract arrangement, but also note that there are other providers of immunisations across the Shire, so those figures could potentially be a bit higher than what we calculate just internally through the Shire. So, yeah, it's wonderful to see where we're at. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Lockett.
Thanks for this. I can say that too.
Anyone else who'd like to speak for or against this motion? Anything further you'd like to add?
Nothing
Councillor
further.
Ryan, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried 6-0. Staying with early years, item 2.6, the early years central enrolment scheme policy. Ms. Robertson.
Thank you. Councillors, this is the revised early years central enrolment scheme policy. The policy aims to achieve equity and access for all families looking to enrol in a Moyne Shire service. This policy has been out for community consultation and is currently implemented within the service. We have made some changes to the policy to ensure it's running quite smoothly.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Robinson. Do we have questions? This is an important policy for us, given the current childcare issues and crisis we have. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just have a question regarding the priority of access guideline, and the implication that there will be some children who won't receive places at kinder. So I just want to know if that's how likely that is in our Shire, and then what happens to those children and their families who are trying to seek kinder places.
Through the Mayor, the priority of access is definitely not about trying to exclude anyone. We actively work to ensure places for every child that we can. The priority of access is there to ensure that our children at risk or higher needs are given a place first, and then we work through working families, children from parents that are working, and on to the last criteria. It just allows us to distribute those places equally. We, at this point in time for this year, we've been able to enrol every child across the Shire that has wanted a place for kinder, and we will look to do that moving forward. We are getting quite full at a lot of our services, so we need to review how we are going to operate for the next few years.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I have one. Thank you. Sort of short notice, but there's no means testing in this, is there? No means.
Through the Mayor, sorry, the priority of access relies on families providing us the information of what priority they feel they sit at, and we base our enrolment information on what we're provided by the families. So
a one-income family would get priority over a two-income family?
No, under the priority of access, under the priority of access, single parents and both working parents are priority 2, and where there's one parent or guardian that stays at home, they become priority
3. So priority 2 is more important than priority 3, or the other way around?
Priority 2 is more important. So where we've got both parents working, or we've got a single parent that works, they're given priority over a family that might have a parent that stays at home.
Right. So doesn't it discriminate against a stay-at-home parent?
Through the mayor, yeah, it does make it tricky, but we have to, that's the priorities that are set by the state that we work through. And I guess the rationale for that is that where there's two parents working, they need some care to be able to get to work.
Right, okay. Strange way of doing it. One other question. We spoke earlier about the steps in this application process, or what do they call it? Registration and enrolment. And I noticed that step one comes before they complete the registration process. Would you give us a quick update on how it should have been done?
Through the mayor, yes, I think that based on the conversation that we had, that's a little confusing, and we will go back and review that. The 4 steps probably should flow after the point 1 that says complete the registration process, namely so that we can guide families that are having difficulty doing it digitally or getting access to be able to come into a service and access forms through the service.
Okay. So when in doubt, contact the Shire and they will give you all the help you need. That's the main point. So thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? If not, we have a recommendation there that we endorse the central registration and enrolment scheme policy, seeking a mover of that recommendation. Councillor Ryan, thank you. And seconded, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. It's just wonderful to see continuous improvement in this space and access for our families within the Shire to a high level care that the Shire provides through multiple centres across the Shire. And we'll continue to do that through this new and improved policy. Thank you.
Councillor Ryan, Councillor Lockett as the seconder.
Great summary. Don't have much to add. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other councillors wanting to speak for or against this motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually want to speak against the motion. So I understand that it's the policy guidelines come through state government directive, but I just wanted to say that I'm not in favour of an equity model for access, which the goal is equality of outcome as opposed to equality of opportunity, because in my mind that establishes at the outset a society that is not founded on merit. So that's my reason for speaking against.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillor wanting to speak for or against?
So can I
Councillor Dukas.
a clarification from what we said earlier? The stay-at-home parent has a lower priority than the 2 working parents. But if let's say the husband and wife, if the wife stays at home, she could be a person with very limited English speaking ability. So therefore can't go out and get a job, yet they're discriminated against someone who's actually 2 incomes.
So is that's a
So does that not discriminate against the person of, say, some of an ethnic background who doesn't have the ability to get a job because they've only been here, say, I don't know, 12 months and hasn't yet been able to speak English sufficiently enough to get a job?
So Robinson, I don't know if you're able to answer that question.
So through the mayor, I guess the aim of the priority of access is to allow us to work through our enrolments and assign places based on that. We would absolutely strive to give everyone a place that needs care. That's the first point. Secondly, in regards to kinder, the view for kinder is that every child will receive kinder. So whilst there is a priority of access, we are actively enrolling every single child in kinder. But yes, the way it does work is priority 2 is again for a single parent or where both parents are working, and priority 3 is for anyone else.
Thank you.
That's clarified for you.
So,
Yep.
yes, so in speaking, I'll speak for the recommendation simply because of what Ms. Robertson said about giving everybody a chance, but I do concur with Councillor Taylor's statement that it does discriminate in a certain way, and it maybe it's time the government does something about that, but that's out of our hands. But I do concur with her, and I know that from a Moyne perspective that we will try to do the best we can to give everybody a fair go.
Thank you, Lucas. Anyone else wanting to speak? If not, I'll return to you as move on the motion. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one further thing to add. I'd just like to say that evidence and research tells us that not all families start from the same point, therefore creating inequity. So this policy evens the playing field for those disadvantaged families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. So we'll now put item 2.6 to the vote. All those in favour, please. Okay, so that is carried 6-0. Thank you. Item 2.7, note our CEO has declared conflict of interest, so he will exit the chamber.
Thank you, Mick.
The CEO Advisory Committee. Mr. Small, if you could please introduce this topic for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, the Government Act 2020 requires us to have a policy, and the policy requires us to have processes to assess the employment and performance of the CEO. But also there's an overarching interest in the community for transparency. So what we have had is a meeting of the committee, which is to discuss the CEO's activities with him. And those have been attached as a confidential minute to this report, but the report is open so the community can see that the council is performing its duties. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Small. Are there any questions in relation to this? If not, we do have a recommendation that we note the report and endorse the committee confidential minutes, March the 4th. Seeking a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Seconder, Councillor Ross. Thank you, Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to note the report and not go into too much detail due to the confidential nature of the said report. Thank you.
Councillor Lockett. Councillor Ross.
Yes, I'm quite happy to support it.
Thank you. Any other councillor wanting to speak for or against item 2.7? If not, I'll return to you, Mr. Mover. Anything further? Okay. Thank you, Councillor Lockett. We'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 6-0. And if we can invite Mr. Everstein back into the chamber, please. Thank you, Emma. We move now to item 2.8, committee membership appointments. And I'll ask our Director of Environment, Economy and Place, Ms. Jodie McIntyre, to please introduce this item to us today.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, we have recently advertised for nominations for our community representative positions, which namely are the Council's Wind Farm Community Engagement Committees, our Economic Development and Advisory Committee, Mount Shadwell Quarry Advisory Committee, Port of Port Fairy Delegated Committee, and Port of Port Fairy Historic Lifeboat Advisory Committee. We have received quite a number of nominees for each of those committees. We are thankful for all the nominations from across our Shire. It's great to see so much interest in such important ways of communicating back through our committees to community. We have recommended the candidates within the officer recommendation and recommend them to.
Thank you, Ms. McNamara. These are important committees for us. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'll
Councillor
go
Dukes.
on after you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank
Councillor
you.
Lockett.
Thank you, councillors. Just noticed that, some of them are a bit light on, and if we have further applicants that wish to apply, will this be an ongoing process?
McNamara.
Through you, Mayor and Councillor Lockett, definitely. There are some committees that are a little bit underrepresented. We will maintain those committees to be open for anyone who might be interested in putting their hand up. We'll always be able to accept that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Councillor Dukes.
thank you, Mayor. Now, on these committee nomination forms, pick anyone you like. We have which committee are you nominating for? And it says, this one says Mount Shadwell. Timothy James Bingham. G'day, Tim. Thank you for nominating. Another one says Peter David O'Keefe, name. If you go to the very back, the person who's nominated is the Port Fairy Historical Society. Unless someone's had a name change.
Are you able to shed any light on that one?
Thank you, Mayor. I think the attachments contain the nomination forms, and we've also attached the relevant charter and also the terms of reference for each of those committees as well. So that might be the back end of it.
No, it's the committee nomination form. Which committee? It says the committee. And then where it's got your name, we have, it's either a Mr., a Mrs. or a Ms. or something, Historical Society.
Okay.
I'm being a little flippant here. They've just taken it, you know, sort of add some comedy to the afternoon's proceedings. That's all.
And for those
It's no big deal.
following along at home, those nomination forms you're referring to are confidential due to the fact they've got private information in it, so they won't be online agenda.
They're not confidential in my agenda.
It's confidential attachment here, but it may be a typo perhaps. Okay, so we'll follow that up, Councillor Dukas.
Yeah, that's all right. That's no big deal.
Sure.
Just thought I'd highlight the fact.
Thank you for doing so.
No,
Any
we've
other
got
questions?
Can't be a boring old meeting all the time.
Oh, yes, sorry, Councillor. Let's make tomorrow.
Just get back to the-
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. We will double check. We're sure the names are right that have been putting their hand up, but I'll sit with you, Councillor
That's all right.
Davis, and work through that in after the meeting, if that's okay. So I
Oh, that'd be
understand. Thank you.
Any further questions? No, if not, we are seeking a mover and a seconder for this one, please. That we endorse the community representatives as listed in the agenda. Mover, please, Councillor Ryan, seconded. Councillor Lockett, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to thank all of our community members for volunteering to sit on these committees. We can't do what we do as councillors without community consultation. So it's wonderful to have a really great representation of residents from across the Shire in the whole range of topics and areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, agree with Councillor Ryan's comments. There's a great diverse range of people across the Shire that have volunteered their time, so we really appreciate that.
Would any other councillors like to speak for or against this motion? Councillor Davis.
Yes, I'd just like to endorse the thank yous that the other councillors have put forward. I'd too like to thank those that have nominated, and to those that are thinking about it or still thinking about it, please give it some serious thought. There's still plenty of vacancies on some of the wind farm committees. So please put your hand up. It's not all doom and gloom. You get to meet with your fellow neighbours, representatives of these organisations, council staff, and it's a good bit of networking amongst, especially on the wind farm committees, amongst yourselves. So you're all got the same ideas, same issues you're concerned with. So please, if you're debating it, nominate. It would be good to see more people on it. Thank you.
Well said. So thank you, Councillor Dukas. If there's no one else wanting to speak for or against, I'll return to you as the mover. So let's put it to the vote. All those in favour of item 2.8? That's carried 6-0. Item 2.9, the monthly finance report, and I'll ask Mr. Small to introduce this to us, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, this is our regular monthly finance report. I'm also pleased to say it's having a regular result as much as it's certainly coming in line with what we're forecasting the results to have been. We did some work in an earlier meeting this year where we actually did some more detailed variance forecasting, and we seem to be tracking along with that. We're looking at making a $9.3 million operating surplus at the moment, 9.5 operating surplus at the moment. And we we're having an underlying surplus of $1 million. Sorry, $11,000 at the end of the financial year. So we're making a small operating surplus in that regards. So other than that, the cash is running on track, and we're also tracking in the same pattern as last year in capital works. We spent $14 million last year at this point, and we're at the same level. So, and last year we seemed to achieve a very good result with the capital works program. So overall, we're making good progress. Thank you.
Still be here. Thank you. Mr. Small. Councillors, are there questions in relation to this?
Yes.
Councillor Dukas.
Thank you, Mayor. From reading the report, it seems like rate arrears are increasing. Is that correct, Mr. Small?
Through the Mayor, basically, on page 321, talk about outstanding rates and rates in arrears, and they had been increasing in the latter half of last financial year, last calendar year, and you'll see that in January they were $1.6 million outstanding in the rate of arrears, and that's down to 1.5. So they're now starting to head in the right direction, I'm pleased to say. But they were up from the previous period, that's previous financial year. Yes.
So we had an increase of 19%, down from the 24%. So with this fire services levy, which is incorporated in our rates, if the rates don't get paid, we try to come to an arrangement, and if that doesn't work, we send in the debt collectors, and if that doesn't work, we have the option to sell the property. I believe that's the way it works.
Ultimately, that is the way it works, but we're very loath to sell properties, don't follow the practice.
That's right, we're very good in that respect. So going forward, if people, because of the fire levy is going to be so high, people are going to have trouble paying their rates. Now, if they pay part of their rates, say they pay half of it, what happens to the other half? When we send in the debt collector, do we send him in for the rates that have been paid? Because even though he's paid half, that would have been enough to cover the rates, because the fire levy will be more than the rates. So are we going to do the state government's dirty work and hunt down these people for not paying their levy? Or do we say to the government, well, they've paid 60% of the rates, which covers their rates. The other is what they owe you, you chase. Where do we stand in that respect?
It's an important question. Mr. Small.
I'd like to be able to answer that question, but at this point, the legislation is not through Parliament, and the guidelines of how we're going to be responsible collecting the rates and how we would do it is not too clear. But I would anticipate the government is thinking we're going to be responsible for the collection in the normal way. But that's just my anticipation.
Lots of unanswered questions.
So after it's all gone through the state government and legislation, etc., it'll be possible to separate the fire levy from the rates through a deduction. We'll be on our rate notices anyway, because it's itemised. So we then, as a council, will we pursue that fire levy, or will we say to the government, sorry, we won't, even though it's in legislation? Because I'd hate to be sitting here as a council saying we're going to pursue Farmer Jones or Mrs. Brown or whatever it is over the fire levy, because that's just not what I'm here for.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Dukas, for the question. In the letter we write to our state government counterparts, we can ask, and we'll ask that question specifically. So in the event that some of our residents haven't been able to pay us, if this does come through, what is the expectation about how that will be treated for our residents? So we'll pitch that to the state government in that letter.
All right. No, thanks for that. Yep. Thank you.
Questions, Mr. Small? Finance report. We have a recommendation that council receive and note the monthly finance report as at 28th February 2025. Seeking a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Seconder, Councillor Ross. Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
I don't really have anything to say. Thank you, Mayor, except that I'm happy to move the motions.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor.
Yes, small stone next.
Any other councillors wish to speak for or against?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just pleased to note that we did discuss in the agenda briefing, I forgot to bring it up then, but that all was tracking well with the escape and planning project in Port Fairy, and it's all proceeding as planned with slightish delay, but it's all very exciting that it's happening and going.
Schedule.
Coming on schedule.
Thank you. Councillor, so just referring to you as the mover. Okay, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried 6-0. Thank you, councillors. We'll move to the councillors' items. The first one being the Mayor and Councillor Activities Report. Are there any questions or comments in relation to that? Not. Yes, sorry, Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor. Myself and Councillor Murray, who was an apology today, were kindly invited to a region of the Shire that we are less familiar with by a local resident, and to have a look at issues or concerns in their own patch. And we don't know about those things unless we are looped in by our local residents. So we really encourage our local residents to contact us as councillors to get out and about and to give us a tour of your local area. We really enjoy it.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. So nothing else in relation to that. Item 3.2 is the councillor notices of motion, of which there are none. 3.3, general matters. Do councillors have any items they would like to flag? Councillor Ryan.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, I just wanted to say big congratulations to the council team who organised the International Women's Day event, and I want to congratulate all of those nominated as well as the winners for that event. Women make a huge contribution across our Shire, so it's great to recognise them. I'll leave my other bit for when Mr. Epstein speaks later on.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other items of general business? Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to do a big shout out to the Port Fairy Folk Festival. It's its 48th year running in a row. Well, didn't 1 year with COVID, then there was 2. Anyway, it's been going 48 years, so leading up to the 50th. Big shout out to Justin, Raj and all the staff, the committee, 700 volunteers they have, 25,000 people in and out through the 4 days at the gates, over 500 musicians from all across the world. And, you know, in terms of the economic, you know, it brings in over 10 million to the economy, but the culture that it brings is priceless. So, you know, big shout out, what a privilege it is to go to the festival. Speaking of festivals, 25th to the 27th, the Koroit Irish Festival, just check I've got that date right, is an epic event as well. If you haven't been, get a ticket. Yeah, 25th to the 27th at Koroit. The town goes green, literally. So, yeah, around it, check it out if you haven't been. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lockett. No other general matters? No. Item 3.4, urgent business. Do we have any? I'm aware of any. No. Let's move to item 4, which is the CEO meeting schedule. I'll invite our CEO, Mr. Epstein, to give us an overview.
Thank you, Mayor. Just key topics out of the CEO report this month, starting with the Emergency Service and Volunteer Fund levy. So on the back of today's motion, we will be taking on board the community and councillor sentiments that have been spoken about today, and forming that into the letter that we will now send through to our colleagues and counterparts at the state government level. So we look forward to providing some feedback on that response. Onto roads, good progress is being made on our sealed road rehabilitation program. So at the moment, we've got works underway in Kirkstall that are about 50% complete. The Allensford-Woongoom Road is at 75% complete, and Hopkinsville Road at 40% complete. When you look at our 2024-25 road seal program, the reseal program, we're at 70% complete, so which is about where we want to be this time of year to complete that work by the end of the financial year. Today, of course, we've seen also the motion passed on our road management plan and register of public roads. So this is really important work to give us that structure around the work that we do to monitor the road priorities. But of course, that incorporates that feedback from the community as was spoken about earlier on. And really that all goes behind ensuring that we are as effective as possible when it comes to the 2,746 kilometres of roads that we manage. Also, over to bridges, we are still waiting on the outcome of our funding application for the Gipp Street Port Ferry Bridge. So we haven't heard anything further on our application to the Federal Safer Local Roads and Infrastructure Program. So we're obviously waiting in anticipation on that. With our early years, the enrolment policy today that came through that motion is also just as important in that systematic common sense approach to enrolments. It is a balancing act, as we heard today, and it is important to strike that right balance. We are guided through the state on that. But ultimately, in order to progress the work on enrolments each year, it is important for families that we can provide ultimately clear and concise information on those registrations and enrolment processes. And I know on the back of this year, we've got some continuous improvement initiatives underway for next year. So we look forward to continuing to work on that. I'd like to just reiterate the thanks to all those committee members who have joined those committees, from our wind farms to the EDAC, Port Ferry Historical Lifeboat, the Mount Shadwell Quarry. There's over 40 folks on those committees today, and we'd really appreciate a little more if there are some others interested. We'd love to hear from you, but we really do appreciate those folks that are going to join us on those committees and love to work with you to better our community and environment. Also really pleasing on those immunisation reports to see that slight uptick to 90% of coverage of eligible children. So that's up 3% on last year, but still a great opportunity to keep working that up even further. Key projects mentioned just there on Skate and Play in Port Fairy, East Beach also getting very close to completion, and as well as the Garden Reserve Pavilion. So we'll see those completed over the months ahead, and we look forward to celebrating that in the community with those events. Also for the Croyd Township renewal. So we're just locking down the funding agreement work first, and then the actual works plan will hit its next development phase from there. So we're really looking forward to, as some of our Port Fairy projects come to completion, moving on to other projects like Croyd renewal and the next phase there. Also, I'd just like to acknowledge all the great work done on the recent Budge Bin fires. So, of course, first and foremost, the CFA brigades and all the emergency services that responded over quite an extensive number of days. Our incident control centre that sits in Moyne and all the folks that work really hard in there. And of course, within council, we have emergency management staff as well, and a lot of people contribute to that. So I'd just like to thank everybody who played a really important role in recent weeks there. Just to finish up, a couple of highlights. Also, our enrolment numbers are up year on year, which is really pleasing. And of course, the route service in Garvock that's utilising a council building there will further increase those numbers. So we're continuing to move forward, which is the important message with our availability of early year places. Also, where you'll see on the report for those that read it, that we are also now tracking the number of closures, the unplanned closure days across our facilities. We are very aware of the impact that has on the children and of course, their families. So we had 34 in 2024, so we're tracking against that now to try and work with our teams as hard as we can to reduce that number. Quite often that can be on the back of sickness and illness, which particularly in that setting can be quite significant at times. So it is working together to try and minimise those risks wherever we possibly can. So that's a really important focus for us at the moment and moving forward. A couple of important applications that have gone in for funding to Sports and Recreation Victoria Regional Community Sports Infrastructure Fund. And there's two particular initiatives that we're seeking funding for. The first is the Aquatics Facilities Strategy. So what that'll do is it'll enable a complete strategic review of our pools and build a go-forward plan sustainably about how we best manage that pool infrastructure moving forward. The second is for a new female change facility at the Mortlake Recreation Reserve. So we put those applications in and we hope to hear some good news soon on those. Just to start rounding out, the Port Fairy Folk Festival, in addition to a sincere congratulations to all those, the committee and all those involved in the festival. Just a shout out to our events and team and many others in the council team who supported things like the street fair, a lot of volunteer work. As part of those 700 volunteers came from council staff as well. So we really appreciate those efforts. And I think it's a real privilege for us as a council team to be to work with and be involved with the Port Fairy Folk Festival. It's a really unique event. We always gain just as much as we contribute out of that event. So really do appreciate that, particularly from an events perspective, and the impact on the economy when that comes through. We also have at the moment the Mortlake Market Square landscape design. So this has had a bit of news locally in Mortlake, which has been terrific, and we've seen 73 surveys and counting on the website, and around 20 to 30 people have attended in person to give us feedback at Market Square. So the next stage of that is to present the draft plan to councillors and the community in May. So we really appreciate that feedback. To get around 100 responses is really strong. So it just shows the passion behind this project, and we'll be very mindful of that as we bring those plans forward. Another couple of call outs that I think are really important to make. We have coming up shortly, just on planning first, I'd like to just highlight that our planning decisions within the statutory timeframe are up 13% year on year. However, I would note that our current volume of planning applications are down from that post-COVID spike that we saw. But our efforts to increase planning applications processed on time is certainly improving. So really grateful to our team who are working hard on that. We also have an event coming up that I'd just like to acknowledge, and that is we've got Martin Ganane visiting Moyne on Thursday, the 3rd of April. He's hosting a business breakfast through Moyne Council at the Noodledorf in Croy. So Martin's focus will be on looking at ways businesses can strengthen their business in 2025 and beyond, and particularly focusing on his experience around domestic and international retail, business development and client engagement. It's a free event. There's also one-on-one business consultation sessions with Martin available in Croy on that day, or in Port Fairy the next day on the 4th of April. So and those sessions will provide tailored one-on-one business advice. So if there's any business operators or associates of businesses out there, I think that's a great opportunity coming up that folks can take advantage of. And just to finish, our council plan is progressing, as well as now our budget. So that 4-year council plan refresh, as well as the annual budget, are currently all on track to complete mid-year. And I'd just like to thank all our council staff who are working really hard to keep us on track with that. And more broadly, sort of coming towards the end of the peak period for us in many ways. Lots of hardworking team across our council staff. So a big shout out to them all. They're all working hard and doing great work. Thank you. If there are any questions?
Questions? Comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Back to the schedule, because I reckon we jumped a bit quick out of that one. The Japanese delegation, this is the first I've heard of it. So enlighten me on that, please.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So we had an invitation to a dinner through Roma Britnell, our local representative. So that was to myself and the Mayor, and also Ms McNamara was with us as well. So the Japanese Consul General has been touring around Victoria, so we weren't his only stop. But essentially what Roma Britnell was doing was highlighting the southwest region to the Japanese Consul General. So I know they toured places like the Abalone Farm and some other local businesses, met with some other folks over about a 2 or 3 day period. So we were part of that program for a dinner, and that gave us an opportunity just to share some of the great highlights of Moyne with the Japanese Consulate General. So, yeah, so it was a great opportunity for us.
Next one.
Yes, Councillor Dukes.
Under delegated authority and contracts, it's got here on page 368, supply and delivery of truck mounted water car, MAV vendor panel contract. Why would we want to go to the MAV contract for a truck mounted water car? Surely we got someone who can go and buy a tank and put the pipe on the back. We've probably got enough of that at any one of our depots. It seems to me absolutely ridiculous to go to the MAV for a water car to goes on the back of a truck.
Perhaps through a procurement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Small wants to respond to that first.
I'm not familiar with this particular item, but the MAV has got a panel arrangement with suppliers, and they can buy many things at a cheaper price than individual councils can. So presumably we found that there was a MAV vendor panel dealing with this matter, so this bit of equipment. So that's why we would have gone through that avenue.
Yeah, true. I understand the MAV and the contract panel, but surely we've seen them. They're only a tank on the back of a truck.
Yep.
If we haven't got someone working for us who can go down the road and buy one of them and set it up for half the price of what the MAV could do with it, I'd go heat. Anyway, that's
I'll just respond to that, yeah, through there. So, great question, Councillor Dukas. So we'll take that on notice and have a close look at that. Make sure we are getting good value for money with that asset.
Because we've had them, I mean, it's nothing new to the Shire. Like I said, you could do it, you know, I was going to say with the eyes, but hopefully not. Okay, the next one was...
just 1 minute. Sorry, Councillor Dukes.
That's actually for a truck and a tank.
A truck and a tank? Surely not.
It is correct, yes. And so it's tendered through the MAV because it's a panel contract. So we're able to what Mr. Epstein said, we're able to attract better rates through a MAV tendered process.
So we're buying a truck and a tank. The tank would be a slip-on tank. Could you take that on notice and get back to me, please? Because this doesn't make sense at all. With all the trucks we've got, to go and buy a truck just to have a water card on the back of it.
It's to replace an existing truck.
Or what about the tank that's on the existing truck? Because it says a truck mounted water card. It's not talking about a water tanker.
It's through the mayor. It's a water cart for road construction, but I'll need to get further detail.
Yeah, someone get back to me on that one. And horticultural services, what's that in part? Do we have someone who does that? What do they do and who is it?
Who would like to take that question?
Take it on notice. No, that's all right. I don't expect. I think we're all in the same boat on that one. No idea.
Gardeners, I guess, I'm guessing.
Well, we have a gardener. It does a fantastic job. So, you know.
Through the mayor, it's for tree work.
Tree work.
Yeah, they change the names and do things, don't they? Just councillor name changes. Tree work. Righto. I'll be waiting with, hopefully that's not done under delegated. Already, I'd like to see who tenders and for how much on that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments in the report? Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. Also just reiterating what Mr. Everstein stated before about the increase of availability and enrolments in our early years. I'd just like to commend the officers and the teams on the ongoing hard work in that area. In council-run centres, we're up 25 spots compared to this time last year, and an additional 25 spots in the groups at Garbock, which is a council-owned building. And in the last month alone, we've increased spots available to 9 families. So it's wonderful to see that we are continuing to increase the availability of that service to local Moyne families. And again, congratulations to Ms Robinson and her officers in that space. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Yeah, that's important. 9 families is significant. Any other questions, comments? Councillor Dukas.
Thank you. Mortlake South Wind Farm. It says here turbine repairs ongoing. Well, what would be in our second year of ongoing repairs? Do they ever intend to repair those turbines?
Let's make the notes within your directorate to be able to answer that.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dukas. We have written to the department to clarify some issues. Once we hear back, we'll be able to share that with councillors, but we have written to them.
So can I ask what the issues are?
There were the repairs that you're talking of and also the noise testing.
Seems to me that they're doing these repairs on an ongoing basis. Therefore, they don't have to quantify with the noise testing for, I suppose, compliance. I know we're still getting paid and every dollar helps, but this could go on for 20 years. So really they're operating illegally because they don't comply with the noise permit, but they're saying they're doing the repairs and it's just ongoing. And what about the adjoining neighbours? What do they have to put up with? So we need to come to a finality at some point in time. If they're never going to fix it, then turn the thing off and disappear.
Okay, so Ms McNamara, you'll keep us informed if you receive a response or when receive. Thank you. Is there anything else for the CEO activities report? That being the case, we have reached the end of our open agenda and I'll call for a motion to suspend standing orders so that we can consider today's confidential agenda. So someone, thank you, Councillor Taylor, seconded. Councillor Ryan, is there any dissent? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour, that is carried 6-0. And thank you to those who have been watching along online. Okay, thanks, Michael. So